Hey, all you Gretas and Chutezcats out there. Welcome to Chapter 3, Section 2. What are the major components of an ecosystem? So this should be a lot of reminders and refreshers from your freshman year in biology class. So ecology. Organisms interact with both each other and their non-living environment. So ecosystems are composed of energy, chemicals, and organisms. So the biotic or living and the abiotic stuff makes up your ecosystems. And so scientists are going to classify matter into different levels of organization, ranging from one molecule up to galaxies. And so ecologists are going to look at those interactions within and among several of those levels. So we can start as small as an atom. A bunch of atoms put together as a molecule, a whole bunch of molecules is a cell. We have a whole lot of cells that make an organism. More than one organism of the same organism is a population. The same living, all the living things in an area is a community. Living and non-living is an ecosystem. And then biosphere is everything put together. So biotic is living. Bio means life, and abiotic means non-living. If you have an A in front of it, it's going to be non. So we have two parts of the environment. Living stuff, plants, animals, microbes, anything that is alive. We have what are called trophic or feeding levels, and this depends on whether the organism makes the food, like a producer, so those are your plants, or finds food, like a consumer, somebody that has to consume or eat to sustain themselves. And then what its feeding behavior is, if it's a consumer. Does it eat plants? Does it eat animals? Does it eat both? Abiotic components are things like water, air, rocks, nutrients, thermal energy, which is just heat, sunlight. So if it never was alive, never will be alive, other than in children's movies, it is usually considered an abiotic component. And those are the main examples. So we have where are our biotic things. So those would be things like the grass, the bunny, the fox, decomposers. And then our abiotic things are things like rain and oxygen, carbon dioxide, and water. So just some things to think about. So producers and consumers. Producers produce. They're going to use photosynthesis to make nutrients. So you take CO2 and water and light, so fresh air, water and light, that's how you don't kill a plant, and it's going to make sugar and oxygen, which I don't know if you know, but we need those things to live. So this is a pretty nifty setup. Consumers are going to feed on other organisms or the remains of those organisms to obtain energy. So we have herbivores like me that are plant eaters, carnivores like a snake or a cat that are meat eaters, and then omnivores like most of you guys that eat plants and meat. Primary consumers are going to eat mostly green plants or algae. Secondary consumers are going to eat the primary consumers, and tertiary are going to eat the primary and or secondary consumers depending on who they are. Decomposers and detritivores. I almost got that out. Decomposers break down stuff. So these are going to be your bacteria and your fungus. They're going to get their nutrients by breaking down or decomposing non-living organic matter. So leaf litter, fallen trees, dead animals, poop. Detritivores are going to get nourishment by feeding on the detritus or freshly dead organisms before they are fully composed. So these are your bugs, your creepy crawlies, your worms. They're going to get things ready for the decomposers to break them down fully by making them into smaller pieces. These guys are key to nutrient cycling because if we didn't have these guys around, we'd be up to our eyeballs in poop and dead stuff. So we need these guys to break it down and return it either to the land or to the air for somebody else to use it. So here are the creepy crawlies that are going to break stuff down, and then our decomposers are the fungi and the bacteria that are going to break it down all of the way. So these guys start the process, these guys end the process. Main components. So sun sends their energy to the producers. Producers will send their plants onto the consumers, or they die and send it on to the decomposers. Noticing we're losing energy as heat. Think back to the activity we did with the rice, where the rice fell on the ground. That would be that one. So now we have our consumers. Some will eat each other. We lose, once again, a lot of energy as heat as that lower quality form. And then as they die, they go to the decomposers. The decomposers will help break down stuff and release everything back into the atmosphere or the ecosystem. I was trying to get there before the bell rang. Also giving off stuff as heat. And then the plants, using energy from the sun and these nutrients are going to take stuff back in. So it's a nifty little cycle of the ecosystem. Cellular respiration. This is what we do to not die. So this is the release of chemical energy stored in glucose and other organic compounds. We can have what is called aerobic respiration. So we need oxygen. We're using oxygen and glucose. So there's our oxygen. C6H12O6 is just the chemical composition for glucose. This is the opposite of photosynthesis, because if you remember in photosynthesis, we needed CO2 and water and energy from the sun, and they made glucose and oxygen. We take in the glucose and the oxygen. We give off CO2 by breathing. We give off H2O both by breathing and peeing. And then it's making the energy our body uses to not die and stuff and keep us heated and all those nifty life processes. Then you can have what is called anaerobic respiration or fermentation, and this is carried out in the absence of oxygen. So you can make methane. This is what happens in landfills when organic matter breaks down but does not have access to oxygen. Ethyl alcohol is how alcohol is made. Acetic acid, lactic acid, hydrogen sulfide. Have you ever been running and you get that pain in your side? It's because your body isn't getting enough oxygen to do aerobic respiration, so it switches over to anaerobic. And that pain in your side is your body's way of saying, hey, slow down, breathe better, and then I'll make you stop hurting. All right, you have survived section 2. So before I go, I want to let each and every one of you know that you are good enough, you are smart enough, and people do like you. And in case I don't see you, have a good afternoon, good evening, and good God, do your homework.